Hey, how's it? I'm Dan. Welcome back to Breathing Underwater's Musicast. So if you listened to our last episode, that was all about the concerts that I attended in 2021, except I left off one, which was Gojira, Knock Loose, and Alien Weaponry at the National in Richmond, Virginia. Since I went to that show with a couple of friends, I wanted to get their input on it too, and our conversation got so involved that I went ahead and just made it into its own episode. So we're going to talk about that show, but we're also going to talk about a bunch of other stuff, our history, shared interests, and the first show that Craig and I went to together, Hatebreed. So I'd like to welcome on Craig and Vinnie to the show for the first time. Vinnie is an old friend who I think we found out later on in our friendship that we were metalheads, right, Vinnie? We didn't know right off the bat, right? That kind of came up later.
No, I knew. I don't even know how it came up, but I think I was like, Vinny's a drummer, and she's like, "Oh, my husband's a drummer. Like, what kind of music do you play?"
Oh, right, it was a drumming.
Yeah, I was like, Chevelle, Deftones. She goes, "Oh my God, like his favorite band is Deftones. You're gonna love my husband." And then
that's right.
Like 7 months for us to meet.
There was some kind of delay there, and then Craig and I worked together. Also, I don't think we shared our musical taste early on. It came out several years into our.
Yeah, I think I was playing some music in my room, and you walked in my room, and you were like, "Oh wow, you listen to this?"
That's what it was.
I wish I could remember what it was.
We ended up. I don't remember what it was either.
Yeah,
but it definitely caught my ear. So last October, we all went to see Gojira, Knock Loose, and Alien Weaponry, and we were a little late because we met for dinner. Was it November?
November 1st.
November.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
That's right. Yep, that's right.
Oh, that's right. We're catching up beforehand, and we walked in a little late. And this is a phenomenon that I've noticed, like only in the past decade or so, where shows actually start like on time. And like I've missed. I don't know if I ever told you guys, but back in, I think it was like 2011 or 12, I had tickets to see Deftones and System of a Down.
Oh wow!
At the Verizon Center in DC, and the doors were like at 8 or something like that. And so, kind of like what we did the other day, I was out with some people. We were catching up, had some dinner, before the show, and we didn't think we'd had to rush in because it was like 2 big bands at an arena, and I had no, like in my experience, and you guys can back me up or tell me I'm crazy, but in my experience, like doors would open, an hour or two before, and then like it would take forever for the show to start.
Yeah.
And and then there would be like a few, a couple, if not a few, like whatever opening bands, no offense to them, and then the acts that you came to see would come on. I guess times have changed and things are more tight and streamlined now, because like at that Deftones show, the Deftones apparently went on at 8 because we walked in at 9 thinking we had just missed the opening band, and Deftones had walked off stage. So they went on at ticket time. Yeah, and I totally missed them, and I was super bummed. So
that's heartbreaking.
But kind of same thing with this show. Like we were a little late. I think we were maybe like 30, 40 minutes late, but I didn't think we were like significantly late. And Alien Weaponry was just finishing up when we got in there, which I was really bummed because they caught my attention on XM. And I started listening to more of their stuff. They kind of remind me a little bit, just with like their inclusion of some of their indigenous sounds and language, like Soulfly, Sepultura kind of sensibilities with that kind of stuff. And I was just really kind of hoping to see. I didn't know they were a 3-piece, and they had just a really good like kind of full sound. I just wanted to see how they'd pull that off in live. So we got to see like half a song, and they definitely impressed me. But what? Did you guys get to see him at all?
Didn't. I missed them completely. The other band, Knock Loose, was setting up right when we walked in. Yeah. And I really wanted to see Alien Weaponry. Knock Loose sounded okay, but I was really wanting to see Alien Weaponry.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just have to go see them next time they come.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Not to get too far off topic, but so we were walking into the show, and we were talking about Crimson Blood, or I can't remember, the South Park band. So I was like, no, I've never seen that. So today, and it's weird, I was looking at YouTube and all of a sudden this South Park Goes Metal link pops up. So I was like, oh, let me check that out. And it is freaking hilarious.
Nice.
They're like, and the one, and the two. And they're like, ah. It was funny as hell.
Was that the Korn episode?
I don't think it was Korn. It was actually like, they had like this, you mean Korn the band or?
Yeah, a long time ago for a Halloween episode, Korn premiered "Falling Away from Me" on South Park.
No way.
No, this was. I want.
And they did the same thing. They were like, "Okay, guys," because they were pretending to be like the Scooby Doo gang, and they go, "Okay, here's our new song, folks," and they're like, "And a one, and a two, and a and
that's awesome.
It's hilarious. It was. Let me think. Butters, Kenny, the one Kyle. I think is the one with the blue hat. Or Stan, I can't remember. And then I couldn't tell who was on the drums. I think it was Eric Cartman on the drums because there's so many drums and cymbals and everything. You could just see his eyes.
Yeah.
Crimson Dawn, I think, was the name of the band. It's hilarious.
I don't know. That might have been later. I stopped watching South Park a while ago, but
same here.
I love the one too where they have a boy band. That one was classic.
I remember Timmy.
Oh yeah. Wasn't Timmy the lead singer of a band?
He was, and all he ever said was Timmy, which is hilarious.
Timmy.
Oh, Timmy.
Anyway, Craig, did you catch Alien Weaponry at all? I think we walked in together. So
I was just going to say, yeah, we walked in together, and I recognized the Kai Tangata song that they were playing. That was their big song from their first album. And I was like, oh, no way, really? They're already singing that song? Because I figured that was going to be their final song of their set. Yeah. What I thought was really crazy was, I mean, I've seen several concerts at the National, and it's never been like full, and when we walked in, like I couldn't even see the stage because there were so many people there already. That's what I found
comment on that too.
Especially
for a metal show.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to concerts where the venue didn't fill up until the final act came on. Even when I took my daughter to see Killswitch and Anthrax and Havoc opened up, and we got there early and waited in line, and because I wanted to have the full experience, there was like nobody there for Havoc. And then even when Killswitch came on, I would say the venue was maybe 2/3 full, and then once Anthrax came on, then it was completely full.
Yeah, that's been my experience too.
Like when the headliner comes up, it's like if you want to I like to sit on either the far left or the far right of the stage. And usually, after the last band plays and then the headliner's about to come up, that's when you make your move. Everybody's grabbing beer, and then you make your move. But I mean, we walked in and it was utter chaos. I mean, people everywhere. Yeah, so I mean, I guess that's a good thing. People hadn't been in a concert in so long.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I was like, I'm ready.
Got to show those metal bands some love.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Especially Gojira, who I've never seen live. I've never seen Deftones live. Never got to see Slipknot live.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, Gojira, I don't care. I'll have to work that day. I'm taking off. Yeah, I'm taking.
Well, we'll have to just like catching up with A and Weaponry. We'll have to make it a point to see those acts when they come through.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
Deftones coming through this summer.
Yeah, but at least have you seen how much the tickets cost?
Yeah, I know.
They're insane.
I'm Save up.
That much Chino. Yeah, that's right. I don't even remember how much they cost. My brain won't allow me to retain that. They're well over $100.
But my first metal show that I went to when I moved to Richmond, or the first show I went to when I moved to Richmond was the All Stars tour, which had a bunch of bands like I Wrestled a Bear once, and
I like them.
I don't even remember half of them. They were like kind of the popular metalcore stuff at the time, a lot of younger bands. But there was, but I went for in this moment. And the same thing. It was pretty meh. Like it was well attended, but it wasn't packed by any means. And then I saw Machine Head a few months later at the Norva, and it's same kind of thing. Like I just felt like this was a sign that the mainstream side of that stuff was petering out back then. But yeah, like this was the first metal show I've been to in a while in general. And it was the first metal show that I've been to in Richmond and at the National, in years. And I was glad to see how packed it was. I'm assuming some of that was, the COVID response, like people really wanted to just get back out in general. But I'm also hopeful that it's a sign that like this kind of music is, people want to support it more than they have been in the past decade or so.
Indeed.
Yeah, metal's always kind of been in the shadows because people they say the silliest things about metal, like, oh, I don't know how you listen to it. It's just screaming. I said, that's because you're not listening to it. You hear it, but you're not listening.
Yeah, nice.
What do you expect them to sing about? Like,
I have to tell my kids that too.
Yeah. It's like if you like, I was the same way. I first got introduced to metal. I used to work with this guy that used to listen to the most god awful stuff about just the weird, like that crazy stuff that most people don't listen to. It's like, dude, you're crazy. What is wrong with you, man?
Oh, like
so he goes, all right.
Death
He goes,
metal.
all right, I'll take it out. So he take it out, and he's like, I'm gonna put another band in. I'm gonna play you a song. If you don't like it, I'll never play metal in the office again. I was like, deal. So he plays the song, and I was like, that seems pretty good, you know. And then the guy starts galloping on the double bass, and my brain is trying to figure out how's he doing that with one foot. He goes, no, dude, he has two bass drums. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But then started doing research, and I was like, damn, this guy is using both feet, one on each bass drum. And then I saw the movie Rollerball, and Slipknot was in there, and I heard of Slipknot, but I was like, damn, this is a bad song. So I downloaded it. I was like, oh, that's Slipknot. I remember seeing people with Slipknot patches and shirts, and so I downloaded a bunch of Slipknot, and I was hooked because I was listening.
Yeah, I mean, it's a legitimate form of expression that, you know, like if you can make music about being happy or being in love, why can't you make music about the other side of the human experience? Even though, like, a lot of this music, and, you know, we'll talk about Hatebreed later, but like I think a reason I was really drawn to hardcore and a lot of new metal too is that it's like it feels like a healthy expression of certain emotions and being aggressive, but not in a I mean, I think a lot, like you mentioned with death metal, it can be very tongue-in-cheek and over the top on purpose for that shock value.
Yep.
Yeah.
But like hardcore and punk and a lot of and stuff like that can be more just like honest, you know, like getting stuff out in a meaningful, you know, healthy therapeutic way. And then stuff like bands like Hatebreed and a lot of the hardcore scene can be very uplifting and positive, even if it's aggressive, but it's aggressively positive.
Their drummer is a special ed teacher. I remember when he was in school to be a special ed teacher back in the MySpace days. Yeah, I'm at work minding my business, and I was like, oh, let me check my MySpace. And I checked my MySpace, and I have a friend request from Matt Byrne. I was like, what?
Wow.
And, you know, I guess I had pictures of my drum kit and all that stuff on MySpace. So yeah, and then I read his bio, and he's like, oh, I'm studying to be a special ed teacher. And I was like, yeah, take that. You know, this guy, he's a drummer for a bad metal band, but, you know, he's wanting to be a special ed teacher.
As you are, I'm a drummer and I listen to metal and I was a special ed teacher. So.
Oh, how about that?
It's not a coincidence. But speaking of hardcore, so Knock Loose seems to be the forerunners of like this hardcore, modern hardcore revival. What'd you guys think of them?
I loved it.
They're not bad. I'm not a huge hardcore fan, but that's only because I've never really, again, using my expression, I've never really listened to hardcore. I have some hardcore bands on my phone, like Bleeding Through, but I call them more metalcore than anything. Immure. Yeah. So no, like, I mean, Knock Loose, I would probably have liked them in concert better if I knew their music.
Yeah.
Because, in concerts, it's difficult to hear the vocals. But if you know the song, then it's like almost like you're automatically hear the vocals. So plus I was up, you guys were sitting up top, so I came up there, but I like to be down where all the bass is, you know, and all the kick. For the Gojira show, I stood down in the pit. I need to download some Knock Loose. I didn't at the time because my phone, even though my phone has a huge amount of space, I had so many videos and just stuff. So I just went through my phone the other day and I got rid of like 40 something gigs of stuff. So I have to download one of their albums, and I'm definitely going to download some Alien Weaponry because I want to say it was Craig that told me, I think it was when we were having our drinks, Craig told me about that song that I don't know the name of because it's in, what is it called?
It's called Kai Tengata.
Kai Tengata.
Yeah.
Well, Craig, I think you got me into you were like our OG Knock Loose guy. I didn't know about him, and you told me about him. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Back when they only had like an EP out. So what do you think?
I heard some Knock Loose on Liquid Metal, the XM radio station, and
good station.
You know, it's funny. Like the first time I heard him, I don't remember the song, and I was like, whatever. It's cool. But like the last 30 seconds of the song, after I heard it, I was like, whoa, holy shit, what was that? That was awesome. You know, but I didn't catch who the artist was or what the song was, and so seemed like it was a while before I heard the song again. And then once I heard that it was Knocked Loose, I jumped on my phone and found them and started listening to them, and I really like it because I mean, I feel like I have kind of just discovered like hardcore music. Like I just became a Hatebreed fan maybe like 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh wow.
I always knew there was a band called
Yeah.
Hatebreed, but I never listened to them. Like in the late '90s and early 2000s, because I was listening to grunge in the '90s, and I was listening to, like Linkin Park and like that in the early 2000s. I love that
Sure.
style of music. I really, really dig the breakdowns when it kind of slows
Yeah.
down and just like gets so. Ugh.
Yeah.
And the fact that a lot of those songs have like an uplifting message, which I think that's really cool.
What'd you think about seeing them live then?
I enjoyed seeing them live. I kind of what Vinny was saying, even though I've listened to a lot of Knocked Loose songs, I don't know a lot of the lyrics, so it was kind of weird not being able to like sing along with them. But it was kind of like I don't really care, because the music
Mm-hmm.
was so awesome, and
Good sound.
just to be able to just kind of bang my head while I'm listening to it, I really, really enjoyed that. Just seeing them jumping around on stage and just getting into it, that just the whole package was just awesome.
It was. I agree 100%. So I'm actually downloading Kai Tangata as we speak.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
So that's happening. So I'll have to check that out in the car where I can be all that I can be. There's no one else like metal.
Well, I thought Knock Loose was great, especially like performance wise. They really kind of stole the show for me in that regard because they were just like really, really active, and they reminded me a lot of like hardcore bands that I've seen in the past that are just a little wild. Like I think kind of like Dillinger, bands like that, not as insane, but like they were definitely like really, pushing the boundaries of the little bit of space that they had.
Yeah.
And I like how they incorporate other sounds into their stuff. They're not just emulating what's come from before. They do have their own sound. I like how they have a little bit of dueling vocals with different sound. Like I call the singer he's like a yippy dog singer because he has more of like a high bark.
Yep.
And the other guy is more of like a low Rottweiler growl,
Yeah. Yep.
So they have that good dichotomy. I think the only thing that holds me back from like really getting into Knock Loose more, I think because I'm kind of the opposite of you, Craig. I was introduced to hardcore in the late '90s because I was starting a band, with my friends in high school, and our singer was like a big hardcore guy. So it was just like my introduction point. And then I started going to hardcore shows, and that just was like my real formative time, like post like mainstream influences, stuff that I was aware of because it was on the radio or television or whatever, or was popular at school. Like this was like local stuff and underground and indie kind of hardcore, punk hardcore. And like for instance, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of E-Town Concrete. They were kind of big, not big, but they were like kind of indie darlings for a while. I think they had one major label release, but I got to see them like back when they were just nobody. Walls of Jericho. You guys know Walls of Jericho?
I have heard of that. Yeah.
I got to see them too. Like they're definitely like an early influence to stuff that's really big now, like Spirit Box and Ginger.
Yeah.
Every time I hear those bands, I'm always like, well, what about Walls of Jericho? But I got to see them. I'm not trying to name drop or anything, but like I got to see bands like that back when they were playing on a floor without a stage, in front of 20 people. And that really shaped like my fervency for that kind of music. And seeing Knock Loose now, it was really fun, but it made me a little bit more nostalgic for like seeing that kind of stuff before, as opposed to being on a bill, like, in the middle of like a larger metal act. I miss, it just made me kind of like wistful for the old days of like sweaty or freezing cold, like Knights of Columbus kind of centers where it would just be this big massive people and the band would be on the floor and there weren't there was no pretense or anything, but I appreciate that Knock Loose is like kind of harkening back to that, but also pushing their thing forward. And I thought they were great live. They were great performers.
I was just going to say, just you kind of talking about that, talking about how they were, jumping around all over stage. I really like that because, coming from being a big fan of like all the hair metal bands in the 80s where, them having these gigantic stages and they're dancing around the stage and it was part of the show.
Yeah.
Which is what Knocked Loose was doing. Like you could
Right.
tell like it's the music that's driving what they're doing on stage.
Yeah.
Like I that's
It's
like
not
part of the whole
pre-rehearsed.
experience. Like I love that. I love how the music just literally moves you.
Well, and when it comes to a live show, I think you hit the nail on the head for like what I was trying to say is I love a good show and a good performance. Like seeing Slipknot live or something, it definitely has a more kind of sleek and rehearsed feel to it because that's what they're theatrical, like that's what they're going for. But it reminds me, but, which is fine. Like I don't have anything against that, but like my background of music, live music is more in that like visceral reaction to the music and the crowd and that interplay, and it's less about like trying to put on a show, and it's more about like this is the music that I need to play right now. And you're just like, you're all caught up in it. It reminds me of a quick anecdote though that I heard a while ago when Warped Tour was still going on. I think like Black Veil Brides was playing and they were getting a lot of hate from like people, more with that mentality of like, oh, they had all these, somebody called them out for having like fake half stacks on stage that weren't plugged in and stuff like that because it was part of their show. And Rob Flynn from Machine Head came out in defense saying, like these big tours and these big shows are a show. They're a performance. They are meant to be theatrical, especially like Black Veil Brides, or like you can't make it a one-to-one comparison between like, I don't know, Unearth or NoFX and Black Veil Brides. Like they're a theatrical band and I don't really like them, but I appreciate what Rob Flynn was saying was like, if you're going to go to a big metal show or, like a big festival concert and you want everybody to like act like they're just playing in their parents' garage, you're doing it wrong.
Right. Yeah.
And
the fake half stacks. I mean, every band does it. Slayer does it. Death Clock does it. They even did it.
That's what Rob said. He was like, have you ever been to Slayer?
It's like, it would be impossible to have that many speakers hooked up. The sound is coming from the half stacks. The sound is coming from the microphone that is being amplified by the board and all the speakers that are hanging in the ceiling that were hung right before the band got there. That's where the sound comes from. The half stack is just part of the show. Otherwise, it'd be a boring stage. Like Gojira. It took what?
Exactly.
It took them 5 minutes to set up, 10 minutes to set up. And then when they dropped that curtain, I was like, oh, that's what they were doing. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man, it's a show. Yeah. If it's at it's at a little nightclub or whatever, like Canal Club, okay, and you have a bunch of half stacks, that's a waste. That's a waste of effort. But this is at the National, which is a huge venue. So, things like that. It's all part of the show.
And I get it that that's not everybody's cup of tea, but I don't think it's a fair criticism to call out bands for being like posers or something because, they're not like being honest or forthcoming. I think that they're missing the point of what a show is. Some like Rammstein always said that they wanted their shows to be a spectacle for the eyes and the ears, and that's why they're so theatrical. And I think that's a really interesting way to look at it because it is a show. It's a live show. But I really appreciate that Gojira put on this bill together. I think it was really clever of them to, because they know that they're a much bigger performance kind of band. So they got these other bands that are very different than them and have a very different energy. And I think it really brings something. If they had just gotten, like for instance, when I saw Machine Head open for Metallica once, I was really, I love both of those bands, but there was really no like dynamic in terms of the showmanship because they're both very big stage presence-y bands, like but in this case, like Gojira is to me is more of like at a Metallica level or something in terms of performance. They're very just have that big presence and they're very technical. But Knocked Loose felt way more loose and free and like just, and like they weren't, like you said, they weren't trying to put on a performance as much as just play their music and do it honestly. And I think all that stuff is great, and as long as bands are doing it like with integrity, do what works.
Being authentic too. I mean, if you go to a hardcore show it's going to be hardcore. That's what Knocked Loose is. They're a hardcore band. So everything they do is hardcore. I was waiting for them to do like the ground rolls, you know what I mean, with the guitars and but that's hardcore. That's part of their show. When you go to if you were to go to like a church choir, they're not going to be freaking headbanging in the pews. There's because that's part of that type of show, you know. And when you have like a death metal show, like I can't think of the name of the band. I want to say it's Candlemass. The stage is very gothic looking. They have like these, you know what I mean? It's like the show. It's all part of it. Like, and what's that one band? Kiss. Like Kiss's shows. They were.
That was a show. Yeah.
That was their show. That was what they did. Yeah. So it's all in what is authentic. That's what it's all
to the individual band. Yeah, and like what they're trying to bring. Yeah.
Or not to the band. It could even be as far as the genre. Slipknot, I wouldn't even know how to name their I mean, I would call them nu metal, but they could also be sort of metalcore. But they're a nu metal band, but they're a very unique band. They have a very unique sound. There's no band that sounds like Slipknot. But
their image and their performance theatrics are inexorable to their music, I think.
Yeah.
That's how they created all that mystique and stuff when they were first coming out, was the masks and the jumpsuits and the shenanigans on stage. That was a big draw, I think. Like that was got me interested in them beyond, just listening to their music. Was like they had that mystique and sense of like something different and something special because of all that extra stuff.
Yeah, I agree. It's like I said, I'd seen patches and stickers of Slipknot, but I'd never heard any of their music that I knew of. And then I'm watching Rollerball one night, and I don't know if you've ever seen Rollerball. They're going from country to country doing this sport, right. And they always have some big show or whatever. And this particular show, the song is playing. I was like, damn, this is a bad song. And then I see the guys on stage, and it was Corey Taylor and Slipknot, obviously. So at the end, I was looking at all the songs. I literally was downloading. I was like, all right, such and such song. All right, download that one. Such and such song. Download that one. Because I didn't know who it was. I think, is it I Am Hated? I Am Hated by Slipknot. All right, I'll download that. And then I listened to them. I was like, nope, that's not it. Delete. That's not it. Delete. And then I found it. I was like, oh, that was Slipknot. I never knew. So I downloaded that whole album. And then I was like, man, these guys are pretty good. So I downloaded all of their available albums. And then shortly after, they had a new album come out. And it was that curiosity that was sparked because I didn't know who they were, but I liked the song. But then I was like, but they have masks, and they like you said, the jumpsuits, and they don't sound like anything I've ever heard. And that's what did it for me.
So on to the headliner of the night. What'd you guys think of Gojira?
Probably the best I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
One of the best shows I've ever seen. Not too loud, not too obnoxious. They didn't just play songs off their new album. They played Flying Whales. They played Toxic Garbage Island. I mean, they played, they like, what song should we play that people will know and people will like? And they're like, all right, let's play these songs. And that's what they did.
I have to say that, like, I was most impressed by the drummer. Like, the drumming was just ridiculous.
Yeah. He's insane.
Ridiculously good.
Yeah. You just shake your head like.
And it's funny, like Gojira is another band that I know they've been around for a while, but I probably just got into them in the last few years. So I didn't know like a lot of the songs. I think I got into them, whatever the album is, with the one that they wrote after their mother died.
Magma.
Yeah. So that was the album that I got into Gojira with. So I recognized a lot of the songs, but like I didn't know the lyrics to a lot of them, so I couldn't really sing with a lot of them. And then, when I knew that we were going, I, of course, downloaded the new album and listened to a lot of the new album and really tried to, learn the lyrics. I feel like the song that I enjoyed the most is that one off their new album called The Chant, where he had the whole crowd singing.
Yeah.
I that was like a goosebump thing for me. Like, I really, really enjoyed that, even though like that's not really like a metal song.
It's not.
The participation in the crowd, man, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was a good part of the show, and I knew they were going to play that song. And a part of me, when they had the runes, when they had that sheet with the countdown, had all those runes, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if they have a Tibetan tribe that's going to play the actual song.
Yeah.
But you have the album. You said that prelude or prelude or whatever you want to call it before that song is the actual Tibetan tribe singing. And I thought they would have them come out for, like, behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And then the curtain was going to drop.
Yeah.
And then they were going to start. But they shocked me because they started playing "Born for One Thing,"
Yeah,
and, which is the first song on the new album.
Yep.
And when that curtain dropped, because they started playing, and then the first note, then they dropped the curtain, and then they started just going into it. And I was like, "Yep, this was a good decision. This was the best $40 I ever spent."
Hell yeah, man. And then,
well, yeah. Do you want to?
no,
you want to
say,
get? Yeah,
you say
we can
what
get
you're
into
gonna
that.
say, because I think we're about to talk about the same thing.
Okay. Well, yeah, I was gonna lead into that. So I was just gonna say that even though my my reputation might be in danger, but I'm not really the biggest Gojira fan. I saw them. I heard about them. I think like as far back as. Geez, I don't remember. It was early on. They were making a lot of waves early on, and I listened to them, and I liked them just fine. But I never really kind of like got into them. And I always kind of peripherally like would see them pop up every once in a while. I saw them open or play on a Knot Fest 2019, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, because I remember Dan. I remember you coming to my room and talking about that.
Yeah. And they were good. They were, they were good, but it was a different kind of venue. So I was really curious to see how they would, because to me, Gojira has the same kind of like presence and energy as a band like Metallica or Rush or these, these bigger, like just very full and very, very like stage commanding kind of like technical bands.
Yeah.
They have that kind of like thing going on, and and they did really well. I was not surprised that they had the kind of vibe that they did at the amphitheater. It was the Jiffy Lube up in Bristow, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was curious to see them in a much smaller club because like it was so pared down for them. I was curious about that, but yeah, like I didn't know a lot of their stuff either because I don't own any of their albums. I haven't followed them specifically. I don't turn them off when they come on XM or something, but they're just, I don't know, they're not as much because like I said, with my hardcore background and stuff, even though I was into like thrash first, Gojira is just never really like had as much of like an emotional response for me, but I do think they're a very good band. And that was just reinforced by seeing them live. Like they were so tight and they were so just big, and like they just felt, even though like they were mostly just kind of standing there.
Yeah.
But they didn't seem like they were uninvolved or like passive. Like they were so technically masterful, and like that drummer was captivating. I was like, I've seen so many wild good drummers, but there was something about him in his style where he just felt like it was totally immaculate playing.
I was just saying he's a very, very technical drummer. If you follow him on Instagram, I might have even sent you clips of him, Dan. I know I've sent them to Craig.
Yeah.
But he'll play a pattern that just seems impossible. But then when you listen to it a few times, you're like, that's a really simple pattern. Why the hell didn't I think of that? And he's just like really fast. But he's just dead accurate. I mean, he's so accurate. And obviously, if the band has a really good drummer, then there's a good chance I'm going to like the band. But I've been listening to them 2005, 2006, back when Flying Whales came out. That's the first song I ever heard from Gojira. I was like, this is a boring song. But then when it really started, because the song has like 3 parts.
Yep.
There's a really quiet part. Then there's the part where they're, and then it starts. And then there's the end, which is the heaviest. So I downloaded that. And then I've kind of forgot about Gojira for a while. And then they came up with another album. Then they came up with Magma. And I don't remember why I didn't download it. I think I literally forgot to download it. And then they came up with another album. And I downloaded that one. That was, I can't think of the name of the album with Toxic Garbage Island on it. And then obviously the newest album, iTunes alerted me that it was coming out. So I pre-ordered it. And one thing that they do that's really cool is they'll introduce a new song every so often. Like you'll get an email, hey, there's a new song available on your pre-order. So I'm like, Christmas in October. So, I get to listen to that on the way to work or whatever. And then when I heard they were coming to Richmond, which I don't know if it was Craig or one of the other guys on the Facebook forum or whatever you want to call it, our chat.
Yeah.
I meant Gojira was coming to town. I was like, oh, I'm going. Then I get to work, and the assistant director, he's like, hey, Vinny, you like Gojira? I was like, yeah. I said, they're coming to town. He goes, yeah, that's what I was going to tell you. I was like, well, I'm going. I'm definitely.
Heck yeah.
So, I was like, I'll have to take a day off. Because you should definitely take a day off. So it was a good show, man. I wanted to like go to another show. I was like, man, if I could just go to the one in Raleigh or whatever, just drive down there and go to another one. But I'd love to see them again.
Yeah,
I could see them being a band that people follow around because they definitely have that. That's why I compare them to Rush, because they remind me a lot of like a prog. They're very symphonic, like you were saying about their song structure, and they had that kind of like bigger than life kind of like, I don't know, aura, and they're very proggy thrash to me. And I could see people want, because you really want to see like how they're going to do it, or if they're going to play it differently next time, and how they're going to pull it off and stuff like that.
But then there's also the fact that they have so many different kinds of songs, like Mouth of Kala. Do you guys know that song?
Right. Yeah.
It's just a straight 16th note barrage on the bass drums, but they're not fast. It's like maybe 160, 170 beats per minute, straight, and just the song just beats into the ground. And it's a good, but then that whole album is good. And then of course Mario is such an insane drummer. He'll be playing something and he'll have you, all right, I finally figured it out. And then once you figure the song out in your head, the first time you hear it, he completely switches it up. And then it's I don't even know how to put it in words. What is that song called? Liquid Fire. Liquid Fire is an amazing song. He's doing, the beat is him doing like a paradiddle with his hands between the ride cymbal bell and the snare. And then he's got like a bass drum pattern that he's playing. He does that for a while, and then he does this part where he's just riding the crash cymbal for a long time. And if you try to air drum it, your arms will get tired. It's just like air drumming. I was playing this on an actual kit. So when I get the kit set up, that's one of the first songs I'm probably going to try to play, because it's a drum part that I've tried to figure out over and over and over. The new album, there's another song. I can't think of the name of the song, but the beat, it's a polyrhythm, but it's a very fast polyrhythm. And it's an impossible polyrhythm. I don't know how this man came. I don't know how he figured it out.
I feel like they played that song. I can't think of the song that you're thinking of, but I think they played it. And of course it was after you left, Dan.
Oh yeah.
Well, let's talk about that.
Oh yeah, you messed up. You messed up big time when you left.
I did.
You know what you missed. You know what you missed.
I do. Well, you guys can reveal my.
Randall Bly showed up. Of course, we're in Richmond, so Randy's got to show up.
Yep,
that's right.
I should have known, and I knew they were friends. I knew they toured together.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why did I think that wouldn't happen? It just didn't occur to me for some reason, because this show was on like a Monday night or something, right?
Yeah.
Or Sunday, Monday.
It was a Monday night.
So Monday night. I was just feeling old, and like I said, I'm not the biggest like intense Gojira fan, so I saw them for a good, I don't know, maybe half hour or 45 minutes, and then I was like, okay, I'm good to go, and I thought I saw what I needed to see, and then apparently like a few minutes after I left, and out comes Randy Blythe, and what's the song he guested on?
Adoration for None.
Yeah.
So they toured back in 2000, 2007, 2008, something like that. But literally, as you left, the door was closing, and that song came on. And I remember sending you the text, but the text is not visible for whatever reason, probably because my phone was full. But he's like, yeah, he kind of tricked everyone. He's like, we're friends with Randy Blythe, and he walks up on stage. I was like, oh, well, that's cool. Maybe he was just at the show in the VIP. And then they're like, we're going to do Adoration for None. I was like, oh, Dan's in the car now. He's missing it.
Yeah.
It was a lesson learned though. Like don't leave a headliner before they're done.
I was just gonna say, I just remember, the lighting on the stage was kind of this weird kind of purpley grayish light. There had been kind of like smoke effects and that sort of thing. And he was, I don't. What's the name of the singer for Gojira? What's his name?
Joe Duplantier.
Yeah, I knew he was one of the brothers. So Joe, he's talking, and it was kind of hard to understand some of the stuff that he was saying. And then I heard him say, "We're gonna bring out a friend," and I saw the dreads, and I was like, "No way, that's crazy." And then I was like, "Oh, Dan, you're not here."
And you missed it.
I'll never forgive myself.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Because I've seen Lamb of God, but not in Richmond, and
I've never seen that.
That's a crime.
I haven't
too.
either.
Yeah, it's a crime.
Well,
none of my friends like Lamb of God. They're all hardcore kids, and I was like, well,
Oh, dude, I love Lamb of God.
they're from Richmond. How could you not
Yeah.
like it, Lamb of God?
yeah.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to not like them here.
Yeah. If you live in Richmond, you have to like Lamb of God, and you like metal.
Yeah, so Craig and I went to Hatebreed, and I think it was it 2017?
Yeah,
Something
probably.
like that.
Yeah, I think either 2017
I
or
want to
2018.
say something like that, and it was at the Broadberry
Yep.
in Richmond.
Yep.
So it's kind of like definitely, I'd say maybe like what, a third of the size of National,
if that. Yeah.
If that, yeah. So that one definitely felt much more just like a hardcore show.
Right.
A couple of highlights I just wanted to point out about it was that I have seen Hatebreed before. I saw them open for Soulfly in like, I think it was maybe 2000 or 1999 when they were first touring off of, or when they were originally touring off of Satisfaction, Death of Desire before they blew up. And then I saw them at Ozfest 2004, I think, after they had put out their third album, and they were becoming a little bit more like metalcore. And spearheading that movement, I think, along with other bands like, like God Forbid and Killswitch and stuff like that. But it was funny to me, like, I think we had got there, we missed maybe one of the opening bands. There were like 3 or 4 opening bands.
Four of them bands.
I'll just never forget though that one of the bands, I don't remember the name anymore, but I think they were like a Christian metal band. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And they did not fit on that bill at all. They would have been fine on like a Warped Tour or something else, but they were too like emo, I guess is like the generic word for it. They were just too they had heavy stuff, but they weren't heavy enough for a Hatebreed crowd.
Well, I mean, they were between Fit for an Autopsy played right before them.
That's right. That's right. And then do you remember what they were called?
I don't remember. I remember the band we missed was Gideon.
That's right.
And then Fit for an Autopsy was warming up when we walked in. And I was like, I was so happy that I didn't miss them because I'm a big fan for Fit for an Autopsy.
Yeah.
I've heard of them, never seen them.
They were solid. They were just a solid wall.
Man, they were good.
And Craig, you probably didn't know this, but that show, I was supposed to be at that show, but when I got home, my dog was very sick.
That's right. I remember Dan saying
that's right. I was like, oh yeah, my friend Vinnie, you guys should have met.
We should have met a long time ago.
We would have met then. But
I've
known Craig for a while, even before metal, because of RVA Woodworkers, which is a Facebook group that I started. I don't know how long, but I met him through either RVA Makers or RVA Woodworkers.
Woodworker,
yeah. And but yeah, I wanted to go to that show because I've never seen Hatebreed live. My friend Damon, my best friend Damon, he was a traveling sound guy. So he was married, but he didn't have any kids, and his job would go and set up concerts. He would run the live board or the back of house board, or front of house board, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then when the band would finish and go off stage and everybody would leave, they'd tear everything down and they'd rush to the next venue to set everything up. And that's what he did. He did that for years. And he introduced me to Meshuggah because he never listened to metal. He's a black guy too. He never listened to metal. He's like, man, you ever heard of a band called Meshuggah? I was like, My Sugar? No, it's called Meshuggah. And I was like, I don't know. So we went to Circuit City and we bought the album. Yeah, I don't know the name of the album.
I used to work there.
Yeah.
Nice.
They had a good music section, man. That was the best place to buy music.
Yep.
And they're really, really progressive. And when I first heard Stinga, it frustrated me and it blew my mind all at the same time. And then when I started playing drums, I was like, I'm going to try to play Stinga. And it took me forever to be able to play the first part. But then he introduced me to Hatebreed and a bunch of other bands. And it's crazy how it works. That happened when I was mentioning, that guy that I worked with that listened to metal.
Yeah.
He's like, you like metal, you should check out this band and this band. I was like, I didn't know you listened to metal.
That's awesome. I will say, Dan, the other memory that stands out from the Hatebreed show is the dude getting knocked out by the 2 girls that were dancing around in the pit.
That was one reason I haven't moshed in a long time, but I had no desire to because they were scary.
Yeah. And there was like nobody in the pit. There was just like a handful of people, and I remember like I was getting really amped up, and I was like right at the edge of the pit, and I was like, I'm going in the pit, And
I
all
remember.
of a sudden I saw that dude just go down face first, and I was like, nope, never mind.
Change my mind.
And then they stopped the show, right? Like
Yeah,
Jamie stopped the
yeah.
show, and they came out and put bleach and ammonia on the floor because he broke his nose or something.
Yeah, dude.
And
His
you know,
nose,
it's funny. I remember Jamie had come out and said, or he's like, hey, you know, we haven't been in Richmond for a while, and you know, we want to be able to play places here. We've already been banned from some places, so will you guys please be nice to each other or something like that?
Calm down.
And
he said that a couple times.
Please give us a break.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that dude, like those girls it wasn't intentional. He just, you know.
No.
It was a fist meets a face, and down he went.
It happens.
Yeah,
but you know, they do have a reputation that precedes them, though, in terms of their rowdy audience. Because when I was first moved to Richmond in like 2011 or maybe sometime in 2012, they had come through. I thought about going, but I had a baby at the time or some reason not to go. But a guy that I had met was, he went to the show. He was going like more for nostalgia, and he said that he got cold cocked like as soon as the band came on. Who knows if it was intentional? It might have just been somebody started a mosh pit. But I had always heard throughout the years that Hatebreed had very not like violent, but if you went there, you went at your own risk. So that might have been one reason I didn't see them more.
Yeah.
But I'd heard that about Slayer too, and then I saw Slayer a couple times, and it wasn't as bad. I think it was more of an overhype kind of thing,
Richmond is a scary place to go in the pit during certain genres. A buddy of mine, Matt, he's a hardcore kid, and he's like, hey, Vinny, you want to go to this Christian hardcore show? And I was like, Matt, did you just say Christian and hardcore in the same sentence? And he started laughing. I was like, who's going to be there? And I don't know if you guys know the Richmond hardcore shows or the bands, but there's Abacab, which is ABACABB, which is the blood code for Mortal Kombat. And then there was some other band. Throwdown was the headline.
Yeah.
I was like,
no way.
I said, I'll go see Throwdown.
Yeah.
So we go and we see Abacab and we see all these other bands, and they're all Christian bands. And, there's not much beer being sold. And I was going to buy beer. And my friend Matt was like, no, man, don't buy a beer, man. These guys are straight edge. Like, if they see you drinking a beer, they'll start with you. And
I've heard the straight edge scene in Richmond is very intense.
It's bad. They have these dance crews. So he's like, if any dance crews show up, then stay out of the pit. I was like, what? There's too many rules to this Christian hardcore stuff. And I'm expecting to just stand around and listen to Christian music, metal. But no, this guy comes on stage and he's like, and they had some like brutal name. I can't remember the name. We're like freaking blood leaking from the body and blah, blah. I don't remember the name.
Puppy kickers.
Brutal name. And me and Matt were just laughing our asses off. And he's really soft spoken. And he's like, I just want to take some time to give, some thanks to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And he just starts talking and he's like, yeah,
I love it.
This man died on the cross. He died for us, you guys. And he's crying and all this stuff. And I was like, man, this is deep, and I'm like into it. And the funny thing is I look over and there's two older black couples that look like they just got out of church. They were dressed. And I look and I was like, they are out of place. You are out of place. So, and this guy's like, yeah. So as he's crying, literally crying. And he's like, all right, so this next song is called, and it was some brutal name of the song. And then they start playing, blasting, and he's like, we're laughing our asses off. And I was like, all right, I've had enough. So I go to the bar. I was like, I'm getting a beer. I don't care about the little hardcore kids. And I went and got a beer. And on the way, I had to talk to the black couple because I think I was like one of 3 black guys in the room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I walk up and say, hey, how you guys doing? And the lady, she says, what are you doing here? And I was like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
You guys dressed in suits and dresses and smelling like freaking Sunday perfume and awesome. They were like, well, we heard there was a Christian concert. I was like, well, there it is right there. Yeah. You can stand right here. They were in the back. You can hear him because he's very loud. It's that guy.
Oh,
so
my goodness,
do they think they've been punked?
No, they just heard there was a Christian concert.
That's hilarious.
What I was leading up to is that there was a guy, this big guy, and he's just the pit is like a circle. And he's in the pit, but no one's going near him. And he's walking around the edge of the pit, punching people in the face. Just random people.
God.
Like, to the beat. I was like, what the f is happening? And that's crowd killing. What?
Yeah.
There's a term for this madness? And I was like, if this dude comes anywhere near me, I'm going to beat the brakes off of him. And Matt was like, no, don't do that. Come in, please. It was an insane concert, and lots of blood was shed, and it was a Christian heart. The last band finishes, and then Throwdown's about to come up. And my friend Matt was like, are you ready? I was like, yeah, man, I'm ready, man. I've never seen Throwdown live. He goes, no, like, are you ready to go? I was like, what? No, I'm not ready to go. I'm ready to see Throwdown. What the hell? That's what we came here for, right? He goes, dude, you can stay, but I'm leaving, man. I was like, and you could see the fear in his eyes. And I was like, okay, maybe he knows more than I do. So let's go. We'll just leave. But I was upset because I wanted to see him. So we leave, and we were at Toad's Place or the Hat Factory, whatever it's called. And when we're leaving, he was like, yeah, man, the pit is intense. Like the whole place just blows up. And like that guy you saw punching people in the face, like everybody will do that. And the dance crews they have these dances that are like fights where they come and fight people and they pick fights. And if you fight back, you get banked. And I'm not trying to get beat down at a Christian hardcore show. I can't explain that to my friends. Like, hey, man, what happened to your face? Oh, well, so what had happened was I was at a Christian hardcore show, and these guys don't drink smoke, but, they definitely took the name of the Lord in vain as they stomped a mud hole in my ass. I'm not trying to go up like that. So
I wasn't as privy. I guess that stuff's been around for whatever, but I wasn't privy to that stuff in the Maryland hardcore scene. So like, and also like the fashion show stuff. It was like, if you had to have like a hoodie and cargo shorts and like a studded belt and whatever certain kind of shoes and a hat backwards, or less, like as much as I love hardcore music or a lot of genres of music, I get tired of the scenes and of the expectations. When it becomes more of like a trend than or like a fashion show or a club than just, fun and expression, then I'm out.
Yeah, I don't need a set of rules when I want to listen to music. I'm here for the music. I'm not here to, all right, wait, you have to be a certain height. Like what's the, they got that freaking ruler like with the roller coasters. And
I'd never be able to get into a show.
Yeah, right. But Craig, that's what I was going to say about Hatebreed, though. That's what stood out to me about that show in particular, was seeing them now, like at our age and their age, like they're not spring chickens anymore either.
Right.
I felt like a lot of people at the show. I mean, I love that some people brought their kids. There was like remember that younger kid was on a stool?
I do remember that.
He was shooting the devil horns and he was headbanging. He had his like ear,
had the big headphones on,
noise canceling headphones. Yeah. Yep. I love that kind of stuff. And I think that like there were a lot of people there that were more like, it wasn't like totally tame. There was a pit and everything, but it wasn't like off the hook. And I think that's because a lot of their fans have kind of matured a little bit and, started families and they have other priorities than just getting messed up at a show.
Right.
But I did feel a lot of camaraderie. Like people were really, even though people weren't like as, like intense, but like people were really into it. And we were having such a great time.
Heck yeah.
And I remember there was a woman that I was sitting next to at one point, and she had like a teenager with her. And I asked her, like, is that your kid? And she's like, yeah, it's his birthday. This is what he wanted for his birthday. And I was like, that is so awesome. Like that kind of like passing the torch kind of stuff. Yeah. At a Hatebreed show. I was like, this is great. That's great. And that was that was a rare show in the past decade or so for me, where I really felt like that same kind of like rush and excitement that I used to feel back in the day when I'd go see these sold out like Soulfly shows or Fear Factory or whatever back in the day. And that it was really, really great show.
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed it completely.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed it. Yeah, I came home and my dog, I don't even remember if she was throwing up or the other end. I can't remember. But I came home and I cleaned all that up, and that took a while because
I'm sorry.
Yeah, she's an older dog. She passed in 2019. You remember Cece, right?
I do. I remember Cece. She was wonderful.
Cece was a very good dog. But she must have known about the Hatebreed show, and she was like, nah.
Nope.
Get you to not go. But yeah, next time they come, definitely.
Yep.
I was going to say, to wrap up, I think that the theme of the night is all the stuff that we haven't experienced yet and that we want to. Mm-hmm. So we need to, keep our little like metal show club going, and we'll report back on the podcast when we make it a point to see some of these bands that some of us haven't seen in a long time or never seen, and need to make it a point to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll have to like create a list, and just whenever bands, I mean, we'll keep everything alive on the Facebook group, and we'll just mention whatever bands come down. Like some bands, I'm like, nah. Like I'd love to see Deftones, but not at that price. I want to say it was 100 and $40-something. No, man.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm not paying that much for any concert. I don't care who it is. It could be freaking Michael Jackson resurrected. I'm like, nah, $140. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Hey guys, thank you for your time. I know this went way longer than I thought, but I had a feeling that once we got going, it would.
No, I enjoyed it. This was fun.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I really appreciate it.
For this episode's song pick, I'm going to circle back to where I started, especially because in this episode we were talking a lot about hardcore and my background in the Maryland hardcore scene. So on our first episode of this Musicast podcast, I featured a song, one of my favorite songs ever, by one of my favorite bands ever, Apathy, a very ahead of their time and super creative and awesome songwriters and instrumentalists from the Maryland, Baltimore area. They broke up back in like maybe 2000, 2001. But since I have resurrected this podcast and hardcore, like we talked about with Knock Loose and stuff in this episode, is being resurrected, at least in a more popular sense. And as you'll hear in this song's breakdown drop in, he says, I'm resurrected. Here is Puddles by Apathy off their album, What the Dead See Through the Eyes of the Living. Be sure to visit breathingunderwater.us. Follow me on Instagram at breathingunderwater1 and drop me a line at breathingunderwater1@gmail.com. Please note that I do not claim any ownership of any media presented in this podcast, which is only used for promotional purposes unless otherwise noted, and all views and opinions are those of the person expressing them and do not represent any other entities discussed in this podcast.